It was good, your boy S to the H. Oh, and you're now watching Shower Room. So today, I have a special guest right here. I'm so excited to have him as a guest, as my second guest right here on this channel. So here we go. Freeman in the building.
Yo, what's up? How you doing?
What's up? How you doing? Thank you for
Very good,
coming.
thank you.
Thank you for coming. I really appreciate you for joining and stopping by this channel. You're the second guest ever in this channel.
I'm honored. I'm very honored.
You're honored.
Very
I'm
honored.
happy to have you as a guest, though. So, Freeman, simply put, I just want to make sure that everybody watching this video is familiar to you. So,
Okay.
what do you do for a living? Who are you?
Me. Wow, it's a very hard question to answer these days. Partly because I'm not young anymore, but also I think because the last decade or two have been pretty crazy with both work and working across different cities,
Mhm,
different countries and whatnot. So my work basically evolves around marketing.
mhm,
So online marketing, digital e-commerce, social media.
mhm,
So a lot of my time had been really spending a lot on observing, working in the actual context of what marketing is.
mhm.
And part of that, um, my own interest had been in the hip hop area, and that I
Right.
had that in me since I was a teenager, I guess,
Mhm,
growing up in Melbourne, in Australia.
mhm,
Don't ask me how I even got started with that, but it just somehow happened one day, and
mhm,
started listening to Cool J's and the later part of NWA and all that
mhm,
way back when. But I think music or hip hop had always been part of my life through my work. Australia isn't really a heavy hip hop centric environment per se, but
mhm.
whenever I go to work, that's all I listen to. And I
All
think
right.
my work it has evolved into a lot of digital marketing work in the
Mhm,
last 9 or 10 years as well. So having worked in uh, China, in Taiwan,
mhm.
and back home in Australia as well, really allowed me to see um, what we can do in this part from this part of the world. I think that's the interesting part.
All right. So, looking through your interview, not looking through your website, I
Yeah.
was surprised that you are the first person to build a website for Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson's fans in Australia, right? What made you do that?
Wow, this is taking way back into 1995 now, so we're talking
1995.
a
Yeah.
long time ago.
Long time. Yeah, it's 25 years ago.
Very
Right.
25 years ago. Yes, yes. Bit of a background story, I guess, on that one. Back then, I was still a university student
Hmm.
studying at Monash in Melbourne.
Hmm.
And while I was actually changing courses because I really didn't enjoy my first year in my first course, and I wanted to change my degree in
So,
terms of my study.
what was your major at the first 2 years?
Back then, oh my god, information management. So
Information management. So that was your first uh major. Hmm.
yeah. And in between the two courses, how do I say it? That I had a lot of spare time,
Hmm.
in between classes and whatnot. So, and back then, the internet just really started,
Hmm.
talking about 1994, 1995 there.
Hmm.
So it's playing around with HTML and online website coding and things like that. And I've always been a Michael Jackson MJ fan
Right.
since before the bad days in
Hmm.
86, 87.
Right.
And then I figured, why don't I just scan a lot of my memorabilia and put it online?
Hmm.
So eventually I leveraged the school's student server to build a little Michael Jackson website on the internet.
Oh
And then,
wow.
yeah, and then one day, this guy from Queensland, which is northern part of Australia,
Hmm.
emailed me and asked me if I wanted to be involved in a building a Janet Jackson fan club website, and
Hmm.
then and I figure, well, why not? Allow me to put Janet on the web, right?
Oh wow. That's how
so
you got to
so
that's how you got two, like Michael
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Janet on
one
your.
for Michael, one for Janet.
All right.
And then this is 95,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then 96 came around,
Mm-hmm.
and Michael had started doing his history tour, world
Mm-hmm.
tour. And then somehow, somewhere along the line, obviously I kept updating the
Mm-hmm.
website, and then got the chance to work with the homie from Queensland. And then when Michael came around
Mm-hmm.
to Australia, we lined up with people from Sony and whatnot to start doing some fan stuff
Mm-hmm.
for him during the tour.
Oh
And
wow,
then
that's beautiful.
yeah, so we traveled, Sydney to Adelaide to Melbourne and then to Perth, across the country,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much for a week and a half while he's touring.
Mm-hmm.
And we managed to meet Michael for a few times here and there.
Oh wow,
For sure. So that was pretty cool.
man, that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, and it's once in a lifetime thing,
Yeah, once in a lifetime. Because I couldn't didn't even get to see him perform while he was alive. So yeah, I'm really really jealous. But hearing your story, like you starting doing this that kind of thing while you were in university in
Yeah,
1995, right?
it
So
was. Yeah.
you were so early on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to think back now because you think
Mhm.
about how we have social media and we have so much like, YouTube platform, video
Mhm.
platforms and all that. Back then, it was just a simple email
Yeah,
from another part
exactly.
of Australia. And that's how I got started doing it.
Yeah, that's that's why I'm really amazed by your work,
Oh, thank you.
because lately I feel like if there was some people saying that I created this Michael Jackson fan account or something like that, it's
Hmm.
it's not a big thing, right? But
No,
back then in 1995 you started doing that kind of stuff. That's amazing, simply amazing.
thank you, thank
I
you.
have
No, it was
respect for that.
interesting.
Yeah.
Because then when we hit 997,
Hmm.
we managed to meet Janet in America as well because
Hmm.
we wanted to gather all these fan club owners around the world
Hmm.
to have a meet up with her. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
That was my first time going to America actually in 1997, I think.
how old were you then?
Oh my God, 21,
21.
21,
Oh
22.
yeah.
Oh, that just gave away my age, but it's all good, it's all good. But yeah, again, final year of university, parents were hesitating whether I should be doing things like that. I've got
Mm,
finals, exams coming around in a
they
few
should
months
be.
after, right? So, but sometimes you take that risk or take that opportunity. I mean, you don't get to meet the Jacksons
Yeah,
every day,
definitely.
right?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it was definitely an experience. I got to shout out to Fez, who's
Hmm.
the guy that got me started all this back in '95.
Hmm.
To Gave me that memorable experience because I
Right.
think that helped me to actually get into my working life as well. Right after
Mhm.
that. So
All right. It should be. So yeah, I really love to hear that kind of story
thank you.
because I feel like a lot of people in Japan or all over the world are
Mm,
hesitating to do something they actually really want to do, but
mm,
it's a lot of blocks and obstacles and stuff like that
totally.
around them.
Yes.
So yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
you're.
And Japan, it's really Michael. There's a lot of fans in Japan as well, too, right? I think
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We
crazy
have a
fans
lot of
there.
Michael
I've
Jackson
seen
fans
videos.
too. So yeah, thank you for sharing your story. That was really inspiring, and I feel like a lot of people watching this video are gonna be inspired by this story
Thank
as
you. I
well.
hope so.
Yeah. So how would you say this whole COVID thing is affecting you?
Oh, wow. It's a very interesting and very timely question. I think
Yeah, timely.
COVID has obviously changed a lot of people's perspective of life this
Mhm.
year. I
Yeah.
mean, for me, impact really was more about having to especially the first half up until last month, work from home.
Hmm.
Using video conference calling, so you should talk to yourself today,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and to have work meetings and interviews and do stuff.
exactly.
I think the most extraordinary part of it is that we are at the end of the year almost, right? And
Right, right,
been
right.
so much um through from the start of the year till now.
Hmm.
I think one of the biggest challenges at the beginning was to working how to do work, because
Hmm.
everybody's
Right.
working remotely, and I do online e-commerce
Hmm.
design and building brands and things for other brands,
Hmm.
and my team who's up in the southern part of China, we're
Hmm.
all working remotely.
All right.
So how do we rebuild that connection while we're not physically in the office every day like in the past, right? Um, and that really challenged us at the beginning, but I think
Mm.
after a while we got used to everybody working everywhere, right?
Yeah, we did.
Um, yeah, and then I think the toughest part is okay,
Hmm.
can't travel. That I think that's been the biggest impact, because
Hmm.
at the beginning of this year, my wife and I just came back from Las Vegas. We
Hmm.
saw Future at on New Year's Eve.
All
We
right.
saw Rick Ross just before and Sweetie before we came back to Asia,
Oh wow, that's
and
cool.
then since then we have we haven't been anywhere, and neither has many people, I guess. So
Mm.
that itch for travel definitely is an impact. I mean, because
Yeah,
it's
that's
that many months that we're contained in our own city or country, right?
yeah, that's I guess that's one of the biggest impacts of this COVID thing for a lot
Mm,
of people, including myself.
yes,
Yeah, I go to United States like every year
right.
around like September or October and stuff like that, but this
Mm.
year I didn't go there. So yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
I've been
We love
having
to
this
travel,
itch for
you know.
traveling.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's for work or for fun, it's just being able to really go somewhere else,
Hmm.
and relax or chill for a little bit.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
but no one knows what next year will be like. But and for myself,
No.
um, just got to keep working hard, I guess,
Hmm.
and keep doing fun things, in this restricted world that we're confined to. I think,
All right. All
you know.
right. I like how you are trying to um, make the best out of this environment, in this situation.
Yes,
And so, what's the first thing you'd want to do when all this is over?
travel,
Travel.
music festival. Oh
Me
my god.
too.
I mean, I told you that we went to Rolling Loud last year. Oh
Ah,
my,
yeah, yeah.
that
You
was
told me about that.
crazily amazing. 3 days of just going
It
nuts
should be crazy.
in
I can just,
Miami.
I can just imagine, but it should be crazy. It should be a you know once in a lifetime experience.
Oh, it was. I mean, when you think about it, we went in May last year,
Hmm.
and then this year they couldn't do the festival
Hmm.
because everyone's on lockdown.
Hmm.
Um, Next year is doubtful, so we
Hmm.
don't know when will big festival like that will come back.
Right. No,
And
nobody knows when he's gonna come back. But hopefully,
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, thinking about like when we went to Miami, we saw DMX, we saw Lil Pump, we saw Ski Mask. There's a
Mhm.
whole you don't get that every day, right?
All right.
Um, and Tiger, there's so many rappers in 3 days.
Hmm.
It's crazy. But I
Yeah.
think travel and music festival would probably be the first things on our minds when
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
when
Definitely.
the pandemic is over, hopefully
Mm.
soon. You know.
Yeah. Hopefully it will get back as soon as possible, like next year
Mm,
or something like that. And yeah,
totally.
we get to see a lot of artists right in front
Mm,
of our eyes, right? Yeah. So
Yes.
so you refer to Melbourne.
Yep.
and I read your profile to know that you and your family migrated to Melbourne, and then you started listening to songs written in English, like Michael Jackson, like you said before, and
Mm.
Madonna and stuff like that. How
Yep.
old were you at the time? And could you describe the encounter with Western music?
Okay. Okay. Very interesting question indeed. I
Mm-hmm.
was probably around 11
Mm-hmm.
when we migrated to Australia,
Mm-hmm.
and I think back in the days because we came from Hong Kong, and even in Hong Kong we did get to listen to some Western music, but not much. Right back in the
Not
80s,
much. Mm-hmm.
we probably hear an odd here and there, MJ song and Madonna or even Prince.
Mm-hmm.
Um, back in the days, there's radio playing in Hong Kong that plays English music, but obviously that wasn't our main
Right, right,
music
right.
type, right?
It
But
was
I
not.
think when I went to Melbourne, really got into Michael Jackson, a bit of Madonna, AC/DC,
Mm-hmm.
Metallica, Guns N' Roses,
Mm-hmm.
or a lot of heavy metal,
All right.
because that was the in music around that period. Bon
All right.
Jovi, all that. It's always interesting because obviously growing up in high school over there meant that I'll be interacting with Australian mostly, right? So, and I think that was when I really get into listen to more English music.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I think that my first few years in high school allowed me to discover what type of English music there are, and then I really
All
got
right.
into the MJ thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then started to listen to more Prince.
All right.
Eventually, started to get into New Edition, Bobby Brown,
All right. Right.
PPD, and then Little Cool J and all that started
Mm-hmm.
coming to my attention. Boys
Mm-hmm.
to Men, TLC,
Mm-hmm.
and all the urban music started coming to my attention.
All right.
And then slowly, that all Will Smith, Fresh Prince back then,
Mm-hmm.
as we all know back in the days, starting to get into my attention, right? And then
All
I
right.
think that was how I started to move into the R&B and hip hop side of
Mm-hmm.
music.
All right.
Like I mentioned before, Australia isn't a big hip hop scene
Mm-hmm.
like America, right? So I still remember when Will Smith came to Australia back in maybe 91, 92 for the
Oh well.
Australian Music
Mm-hmm.
Award. I was just going crazy. I mean, how often do you get Will to come, to Australia? And I think that was when he started doing movies and things as well,
All right.
Independence Day and things like that. And no, I think because as you live in a Western environment, you do end up listening to a lot more English music than ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think it's good because I still back then I would at school we would music classes we would be listening to and learning about the Beatles,
All right.
the Elvis, and the 80s or 70s music, John
Mm-hmm.
Lennon and all that. We were taught um, for those music,
Mm-hmm.
but then as we grew up through Walkman and then Discman, we go and start buying our own CDs.
Mm-hmm.
Became more and more, and then that's how I went from listening to a lot of heavy metal to
Mm-hmm.
a lot of R&B,
Mm-hmm.
and then hip hop, and hip hop has sort of extended my music taste up until now. So,
All right. So yeah, that's interesting to hear. But you say in Melbourne there were hip hop was not that big of a thing back then,
mm,
right? But
right?
lately I feel like it's changing because the first guest on this channel is actually R&B singer songwriter from
Right.
Melbourne.
Oh, really? Wow,
She
interesting.
resides in Melbourne, and she yeah. So according to her, uh, the music scene right now in Melbourne is mostly like R&B and hip hop dominated. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's happening everywhere. Like
Yeah,
hip
yeah.
hop
No,
is
it's
getting
changed.
bigger. Yeah.
I still remember back in the university days,
Hmm.
clubs were promoting Asian nights, right? Which is
Hmm.
pretty much a bunch of Asian kids going to clubs and whatnot.
Hmm.
Most of the music they play during that session would be hip hop or R&B or
All
funk
right.
or EDM, right? Back in the 90s.
Wow, wow,
Um,
that's so Asians were more like familiar to those kind of black
urban
music
urban music,
compared
yeah.
to
Mm.
white people in Australia
Would
back
say
then.
so. I think it's partly because of I don't know. Well, I mean, for me, for myself, I don't even know how I really got into. I mean, I think it's the sound, the
Hmm.
sound of R&B that caught my attention first. You know,
Mm, that's
like I
quite
mentioned,
interesting.
listen to Boyz II Men, Jodeci,
Hmm.
um, obviously a lot of all other type
Hmm.
of R&B artists
Right.
back in the days as well, right? Um, and I think obviously Crisscross, and then it started, getting into real Montel Jordan and all that, back
Hmm.
in This Is How We Do It,
Yeah.
and then Puffy started doing, Usher started coming out,
Hmm.
and then they sort of started bringing into the bridging the hip hop and the rap side of things,
Hmm.
um, for the limited availability of music in that genre back in the
Hmm.
90s. I still remember buying imported CDs in Melbourne at Central Station Records,
Hmm.
um, which are a bit more expensive than the CDs you get at the normal CD stores back
All
then.
right, right, right.
But that was the only place that we could get remixes.
All
And,
right.
and to think about that period, it was before the internet, so there was no YouTube, there was no streaming, there was
Hmm.
no playlist. It was purely just going to buy cassette tapes or CDs
Hmm.
to and radio plays to listen to the music that you want, right?
All right.
So the avenue of actually getting into that music
All
was
right.
very limited.
Hmm.
I still remember, buying CDs or buying things from people overseas. Like it could be a limited edition TLC video or something, right?
Oh,
So
wow.
very different back in the 90s or late 80s compared to the world that we live in, where we can access almost anything, anywhere,
Hmm.
anytime,
All
right?
right.
So
I love to hear that kind of story from everybody because each and every person has his or her own story of the encounter with music, and
totally, totally.
yeah, I'm kind of jealous of you and older generation because like I like a lot of rappers and R&B singers from in the 90s, and
Mhm.
but the problem is I haven't actually got to really you know experience those music at
All right,
the
okay.
right time, right?
Mm,
Real time.
mm.
So yeah, I'm kind of jealous.
Oh no, I mean, I think technology has definitely banned a lot of those um, changes in the last 2 decades,
Hmm.
right? Like I mentioned before, I was still buying vinyls back in the 80s, right?
All
Um,
right.
on cassette tapes. But geez, how much has changed so much?
Mhm.
I mean, right now I still have a stack and stack of CDs at home. Um, I think one thing that's kind of still missing in today's world is the actual visual art of
Mhm.
CDs
Ah,
or
yeah,
design.
definitely. I
You,
totally agree with that.
you know, um, everything's digitized.
Yeah, yeah,
You can't see it as real as it was. You know.
exactly. So whenever you bought a CD back in the day,
Mm,
the booklet came with it, and
totally. Yeah.
that was one of the beauties of buying a CD, right? But
Yep.
lately, mostly I listen to music via Spotify and Apple Music and stuff like that. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't really have so many opportunities to really touch the CD and booklets
Okay.
and read it and credits and stuff
Mm.
like that. So
But you
yeah,
guys are lucky in Tokyo. You still have a big Tower Records.
yeah, yeah,
Store.
yeah.
My
So
God, every time I go there, I could spend half a day there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
So
know.
yeah, so yeah, in my country, a lot of people are still buying CDs. So that's
Mm.
why we got that big Tower Records and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
it's interesting though. So okay, so the next question, let me ask you this. Before entertainment, I found you worked at several companies, including Cisco and Expedia and stuff like that.
Mm.
So, do you feel like your experience in those companies are helpful in what you do today.
Totally, totally.
Totally.
Through those experience,
Mhm.
been able to see the world more than just Australia because I was doing Asia Pacific type of
All
work
right.
then. But more importantly, around that period, that was when internet online started popping. Because we're talking about 2006 and seven.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Google has matured, YouTube started to be
Mm-hmm.
mature, Facebook has just started. Instagram wasn't around then yet, but
Mm-hmm.
um, a lot of the so-called online digital marketing um, platforms just started around that period, and I think um, through those learnings, definitely has helped me to continually advance myself to learn more about
Mm-hmm.
how we interact, how we engage, and how we calculate things from those working experiences,
All
right?
right.
And I think more importantly, it's all about how do we use that and continually learning. I think that's one very important part
Yeah.
in the world or in the working field that I'm in right now, where things are moving very fast.
Mm-hmm.
One thing you learn about this platform, next year will be another platform.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Exactly.
be TikTok today and then Triller tomorrow, and then God knows what comes after that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and my experience in working in China actually also helped me to learn how to do things quickly, but also smartly or surely as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was the foundation I got from working at the likes of Cisco or Expedia. Um, really allowed me to learn how to work across multi-country
Mm-hmm.
for multi-country um, marketing related work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really something that you can't learn from school, right?
All
We can
right. No.
get taught about international marketing
Mm-hmm.
through books and whatnot, but unless you're practicing that yourself, you're never really going to feel how what's involved and the details, the intricacies, and the amount of thinking you need to
No.
do it well. And I think through those experiences also allow me to learn how to work collaboratively with different parties as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in such an interconnected world that we're living in these days, we also need to learn how to disconnect ourselves every now and then as
Mm-hmm.
well. So I think through those experiences really allow me to learn that also. So I think it's a progressive thing. It's
Yeah.
not like, oh,
Exactly.
I'm done with that job and then something else different and then I'll start from scratch again.
Mm-hmm.
It's always building one from another. It's like building blocks from one opportunity to another over the years. So
Mm-hmm.
I hope that answered the question.
Yeah. Yeah. You did. That's beautiful because I feel like some people in the world are saying like I actually don't want to do this kind of work and stuff like that, but you
Mm,
definitely pay the tuition to the school of experience,
yes.
and you learn a lot of things out of those experiences, and that's how you got to like be able to work with a lot of rappers from Japan because you
Mm-hmm.
invited some rappers from Japan too, right? To
Yeah, like Killer. 2 years
Killer.
ago, they came to Shanghai and then we did interviews and their show was lit. And that's the youth of today, right?
Right, right,
Rap music, and also on the ground, underground, on the street.
right.
Um, and I think going back to your point, I think the fact that I was able to work in a multi-country,
Hmm.
regional type of work allowed me to see the world very differently as well. It's all
Hmm.
about, okay, how to respect and appreciate different culture,
Hmm.
the people that I work with, be it Westerners or Asian in different part of Asia, whether it's Japan, Taiwan, China,
Hmm.
Southeast Asia, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, right? And learning and understanding that allows me to, okay, well, what should I do?
Hmm.
I think a lot of time, and then interacting with rappers and musicians and artists also allows me to see how they do things.
Hmm.
they do things quite differently than the things that I do sometimes, you know.
All right.
And I think it's more about how we complement each other.
Mhm.
That's more important than most things.
All right. Thank you for sharing your story. That's definitely interesting for everybody watching this video.
Hope so.
Yeah. So, what do you think is the biggest accomplishment you made as far as hip hop?
Ah, wow, that's a tough question. I mean, accomplishment might not be the most exact word I would say, but I
So,
think in terms of,
mhm,
I guess the biggest thing I've done for and or with hip hop was I think building a brand like Wholesale a few years ago. You know,
all right.
building something from nothing,
Mhm,
basically zero anything, and to build a little unit of content
mhm,
interaction with artists, rappers, and then I think learning in working with different artists and entities, you know.
mhm.
I think to me that's there's so much I've learned in the 2 or 3 years in building the brand,
All right,
and
right.
and it's allowed me to extend as I go along because working with one promoter and then
Mhm,
that promoter would then introduce me with some other artists
mhm,
and then we became friends and then we became connected in one way or another, you know, and then that's just keep growing and growing. And you know we see the likes of the bigger players in this market and
mhm,
a.k.a. Rising and some of the other um, promotion house or labels in Asia or in China or in Japan nowadays
mhm,
um, really allows me to feel the vibe of how much more we still can do, you know.
mhm,
So I think it's an interesting question because you know I've lived my life in the more Western world back in
mhm,
Australia,
mhm,
and I grew up with hip hop, and then I then spent the last decade living and working in Asia,
mhm.
and then I also built another sort of portfolio in hip hop.
All right.
So I would say the most cool things I did back in the Western world was how do I say it? During and after the MJ tour, you know, we
Mhm,
were also well, I was working with the homies back in Queensland and
mhm,
also bringing artists from the US as well.
mhm,
112 more R&B artists,
mhm.
you know, so that was fun.
All
But
right.
it wasn't from my own accomplishment; it was through my friends and network and whatnot.
Mhm,
Um, but then I think when I was starting to build our own little hip hop brand here in Asia or in
mhm,
Shanghai a few years back, it really allowed me to consolidate all that hip hop knowledge or hip hop world that I've been working with or dealing with or listening with in the
mhm,
early 2 decades and time like okay what should I do and how do we call this brand,
mhm,
how do I do my first piece of promotion or how do I build a social media network in
mhm,
China to build this beast, right? And through that learning I think you know it also helped me to think more fluidly in how to do digital marketing work as well too, because there's a lot of experiment. You know,
mhm,
when you talk to a promoter to line up for a possible collaboration or sponsorship
mhm,
to do a national tour around Asia, it's not like that. And there's and then you have to
mhm.
negotiate, and then you have to work back and forth, see who else is wanting to be involved, how much it costs, all that behind the scene work. I
All
think
right.
it's a really great learning experience.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes, you know, you get to be friends or be more acquainted with a couple of people that they will also introduce
Mhm,
their networks of rappers and friends and whatnot. And I think that's the to me it's not an accomplishment, but it's more about how do I build this
yeah,
thing
yeah, yeah, exactly.
um, from A to B to C to D to E, right?
Mhm,
And I think so. To me, it's not all about making it bigger, but
mhm,
it's also more about what are the things I learned from it that will
mhm,
allow me to apply in other parts of my life as well. You know, whether it's work, whether it's play, or going to Rolling Loud again, hopefully next year or the year after?
Mhm.
How do I work with people online
Mhm.
collaboratively to build things? How do I keep in touch with those that I still haven't been or haven't had a chance to
Mhm.
do more collaboration with, but
Right.
still hopefully one day that we can get to do something, and I think another view would be the whole Western and Eastern or Asian thing, right? How do I make sure I'm building a network across both side of the world?
Mhm.
It's not about all one and not the other. Um, and I think that's the beauty of music and hip hop because it allows people to come together. It doesn't matter what race, what age, what
Exactly.
um, gender, right?
Mhm.
You love it, and then you just gotta keep growing with it and keep leading the change because I think one of the greatest thing about hip hop is it keeps on evolving as well. It doesn't stop. You
Right.
get the Pac and the Biggies to what we listen to now.
Mhm.
Through whether it's Wayne or Ski Mask or some of the newer, the
Mhm.
younger rappers, sound is so different, right?
Right.
But
Different.
it's still part of hip hop and it's
Mhm.
still popping. And then I
Right.
like there is nowadays I don't have that kind of view where I have to listen to old school or I have to
Mhm.
listen to new school hip hop. To me, whatever I like, I'll dig into it. I'll go hard and just
Yeah, I
and
like the
enjoy.
like.
Music isn't about well, hip hop. I think isn't just about let's go and have a beef with somebody else
Mhm.
or let's go a battle. Yeah, that's all part of it. But I
Mhm.
think more and more we're seeing the different types of artists or rappers doing their own thing, doing
Right.
their
Right.
own
Exactly.
interpretation of the music or
Yeah.
the culture, right?
Mhm.
So, but obviously I respect a lot of stuff that comes out from the US
Mhm.
because there's so much in there that I still haven't explored yet, you
Mhm.
know, and
Yeah, I definitely agree
fun.
with that. I definitely agree with that, and I can tell from the way you speak that you literally created something out of nothing, right? And
Sort of with the help
sorry,
of
yeah, like
people.
cool
Yes,
stack.
yes,
As far
yes.
as cool stack, I feel like you did that. And what I really like about that is you said you learned a lot of things
Mm,
in the process of doing that, right?
yes,
So
yes.
yeah, so many people out there are only concerned about like results and accomplishments and stuff like that, but you talked about how you grew up, how you learned, how you like progressed, right? That's
Yes,
what I
yes,
really like
yes.
about your story.
Thank you, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. Because it's through those progresses
Hmm.
where you pick up how you can change things, how you can change the course of things.
All right, exactly.
And I think part of that is probably because also having been more working in the online digital world
Hmm.
for quite some time, the speed of change on a virtual world is fast,
Yeah,
right?
it is. It is.
Speed
Look,
and
you've got to be
change.
learning every day by day, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
I can tell
mean,
that.
you hop onto Apple Music or Spotify these days, you can
Hmm.
literally find anything you want to listen to,
Hmm.
right? Whereas when I was a kid, you can't. You have to go and buy
Nah. Right,
cassette tape, or
right,
you have
right.
to know the artist's existence through
Hmm.
radio play first.
Right.
Then you have to grow to like that person and watch the music video, and then go and buy a cassette tape.
Hmm.
Now the behavior is like, oh, that sounds good. I'll play it.
Hmm.
If I love it, I'll buy it online straight away, or I'll just have keep playing it until I enjoy it more before I buy it. Right. So
Right, right.
it's very different.
Yeah, totally different. So yeah, that's why you got to be learning every day, like day by day.
Totally.
Okay. So right now I'm asking you a couple of questions, quick
Okay.
questions. So I need you to answer them real quick, like
Mhm.
within 5 seconds.
Okay.
You ready? Okay.
I'm
So
ready.
here we
I'm
go.
ready.
This or that. Michael Jackson or Prince?
Michael Jackson.
Tupac or Biggie?
Park. Although I'm
Yeah.
wearing a bigger t-shirt today, but it's Park.
Awesome. So let me see the Biggie T-shirt.
There you go.
Oh, this that's cool. But you're for Pack.
Oh, totally.
All right. So Juice World or Pop Smoke?
Wow, tough one. I'll go Juice.
Juice.
Yes,
ATL or Chicago?
say Chicago.
Drink or Drive?
Drive.
What is your favorite Janet Jackson song?
Oh my God. That's the way love goes.
That's my favorite one too. So, favorite Kendrick Lamar album?
Damn.
Damn. Favorite album of 2020 so far?
I would say Eminem's one was good.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that was a good album.
yeah, but there's so
Mhm.
many others. My God,
Mhm.
there's so many artists that just came out with music this year.
Right.
That baby's doing a lot of work. Megan Thee
Mhm.
Stallion.
Mhm.
God, these young kids are pumping with stuff like
Right.
crazy. Jack Harlow, what's popping?
Isaac Harlow. You listen to a wide range of music.
I do. Yes.
All right. So fill in the blank and complete the sentence.
Yep.
When I wake up in the morning, I think about blank.
Think about what do I wear? What I wear.
You want to wear what you wear. Okay. If I could interview anybody dead or alive, I would interview blank.
Tupac.
Tupac. If I could see anybody perform dead or alive, I would want to see blank.
Eminem.
So my name is Freeman and I'm blank.
Hip hop lover.
Hip hop lover. That's
Yes.
yeah, totally. All right, so thank you for coming to my channel. It's been a pleasure to have you here, and it's been a pleasure to have this conversation with you. I really
Uh,
appreciate you for that. And
thank you. Thank you.
what can we expect from you next?
Wow, I'm asking that question myself.
Mhm.
Good question because, like I mentioned, I just started my new work. But on top of that, obviously, my ear is always evolving around
Mhm.
listening to hip hop and whatnot as well. I
Mhm.
think 2021 will be a very, very different year than this year. The world hopefully getting better. Being able to travel and see and collaborate with more things.
Mhm.
With people, brands, or even just doing cool projects. Hopefully we and you can do something chill together. Something
Yeah,
fun.
definitely. I'm 100% down for that.
Great, great,
Yeah,
great. Hopefully we can fly and meet each other and things
yeah,
like that.
definitely.
You know,
We need to
That-
see face to face, man.
it's been very, very weird this year because I like first time I went to my office,
Mhm.
my new work now. I was like, oh my god, I'm finally seeing humans again. Like
Mhm.
I was just working from home the last 9 months without meeting my team or seeing anyone for my last job, and then I'm like, oh my god, I'm seeing humans. I'm having meetings in a room that I can bounce ideas off each other.
Mm.
It's such a world of difference. When
Yeah,
you do
it's
that,
such a crazy time.
yeah, and I think in the future it'll be a mix of both, a mix of virtual and a mix of physical, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm looking forward to see more, to do more creatively. Also, always challenging myself. Doing better videos. I'm doing better content,
Mhm.
whether it's for work or for fun.
Right.
Um, I think traveling or is always on our minds
Mhm.
to experience new things, and I think definitely on our top of my list would be going to Vegas. That's been our pilgrimage almost every year,
All
and
right.
reach that the fact that we haven't been for almost a year now.
Right.
So and then I think also another thing would be hoping to meet more artists and rappers and see what fun things we can do. Um, that's always on the card.
All right.
Trying to meet and engage with people.
Mhm.
So.
All right. I actually have never been to Las Vegas, so
Okay, okay.
so if I should, go to Las Vegas
Mm,
for the first time, that would
mm.
be possibly it's with you.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll
because
we'll meet
it,
up out there.
yeah, no, I mean, we go there to check out shows and
Mhm.
concerts and because why we hit there during the end of the year is because there's a lot of rappers or artists that goes there and do end of year shows, right?
Mhm.
And in that space of 2 or 3 weeks, it's just artist after artist. You get, we've seen Nicki Minaj, Drake,
Mhm.
Future,
Mhm.
Chris Brown, Sweetie, Rick Ross, Nas. All there.
Man, I
Crazy.
can't really wait for that to happen.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
no,
really
I
wait
mean,
to experience that.
and I'm sure the clubs over there are waiting to open up again for shows to happen as well too, right? So yeah, it's crazy. It's just gonna go crazier.
All right, so we'll definitely look forward to that.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you for coming to my channel.
Thank you for your
So
time. Thank
yeah,
you for inviting me.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.